Come on, babe. I want to do it with the mascot.
Regular dudes?
What?
Stuff.
Get your popcorn ready.
Welcome to a very spooky episode of Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. I'm Magnum and I'm back with the Soupdeucer to kick off the Halloween season. I'll probably just dig in deeper into the Halloween season because we are here. So we're going to be talking about the Rob Zombie remake slash prequel of Halloween. Came out back in 2007 as our featured review. Also going to be talking about some of our other favorite Halloween shows, movies, that sort of thing. How you doing tonight, Soup? Are you in a very spooky mood? You in a very slasher mood? Or are you kind of just like spooky slash chilling?
I'm like spooky slash chilling, man. I like the combo there.
Sounds like a
That's pretty
Sublime
cool.
song.
Spooky slash chilling, dude. Yeah, man. Looking forward to this one. I loved, anybody that's ever seen or heard anything that we've done knows that I love the Halloween season and Halloween movies and shows and everything else. It's one of my favorite genres and times of the year. So stoked to be here. Stoked to be doing a review on this movie because it's definitely one that since it came out, I've was impressed with right away and always have liked. It's in my rotation for yearly if I can squeeze it in. I have the certain set movies that I always watch in the month of October. And this is definitely one of them, man.
Yeah, you've been advocating for this one for a while, so we've gotten around to finally checking it out. And thank you for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. You can find our content wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff and on the web at dudeswatchstuff.com. Nice and easy to remember, just like the flaps, FLAPS. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, please touch the thumb. Soup, we're going to start off by talking about what we've been filling our holes with the little holes in this house. We'll try to keep it Halloween, spooky season themed, but if you've been checking out some other stuff, that's okay too. What have you been filling those eye and ear holes up with, or even the mouth hole if you checked out something good?
Well, sticking with Halloween, it is October here, so I have squeezed in a few Halloween movies, man. So we'll start there, or Halloween related movies. The Terrifier movies, both one and two, I've already knocked those out, man. The third one, I might wait a little while because that's almost a Christmas movie. So we'll see. It is more of a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I think
Definitely.
I remember the poster for that one. I haven't seen the Terrifier movies, but I can kind of picture the third one being a Christmas themed
The
poster.
Terrifiers are, they're some of the best, like, cheesy fucking slasher flicks that have come out in a long time. Anybody who's heard of it or seen them definitely knows that, it is what it is. But there's a reason why there's three of them and probably another one coming out. It's definitely got a following and people enjoy it that like that
Call
kind
me
of.
when he goes to space. I mean, Leprechaun went to space.
Yeah,
Come on,
right.
was that four?
So did Jason Voorhees went to space that time too.
And the Fast and the Furious, dude. It just after a while, there's nowhere else left to go.
Where to
It
go,
is the
man?
final frontier, right?
There's also a movie called All Hallows Eve, which is actually the first movie that you see Art the Clown in, the guy from Terrifier movies. That one I knocked that one out as well. Definitely a good one. There's a part two to that. I did not see that yet. Well, I have seen it, but I get this season. I may or may not get there. We'll see.
Art the Clown, fantastic carny name. I just had to drop that in there, dude. Fantastic
Yeah,
carny name.
it's a great carny name, dude. Hey, I'm Art the Clown. Yeah. Can't really get away with that anymore unless you had the name first. If you do it now, then you're just copying, and there's already an Art the Clown out there now, man.
Yeah,
But
watch out.
so so aside from yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at with the Halloween movies. I did start watching the VHS Halloween, the V/H/S Halloween, the new one the new VHS whatever the fuck movie that came out. I only made it through like the first little bit of it. So I'm not really going to say anything that 'cause I haven't really seen it yet, but it's on my shit. So I dipped my toe in it, but unfortunately I fell asleep, not because it wasn't good, but because it was late night. So we'll get back in touch on the VHS Halloween at some other point. But yeah, that was on my list as well. Also, I was trying to like maybe stay in the theme, but I knew this wasn't really a Halloween movie, but it was still like, a thriller and it looked interesting and it looked very mysterious from the trailer and the things that I had heard about it. And it's been on my radar to watch it. And it's The Surfer. It's the Nick Cage joint. It was good, man. It definitely not a Halloween movie. Definitely not really. I guess you could call it kind of a thriller. Very Shyamalan-esque kind of, but confusing. It was incredibly weird and kind of, I don't want to say hard to follow, but like it could have. It's just it's a fucking thinker, man. Because when you think you know what's going on, then you're like, oh well, But some of it doesn't add up even at the end. So it's like, what are you really trying to get here? But so still some questions. I might have to watch it again and try and pick up on some things I might have missed. I would recommend checking it out. It's definitely it was a good watch, but like I said, maybe it was just me, but I felt it to be a little bit confusing, as far as wrapping it up at the end, and especially, but definitely a cool one, something different,
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't heard any like I haven't watched that one yet, but I've heard some decent stuff about it. I'm kind of behind on a lot of these Nick Cage ones. I haven't seen the one with the pig and the truffles or whatever. There's a couple of good ones out there that I haven't been able to check out. So maybe I'm due for a Cage match. And it's kind of interesting that you bring that up. One of the things I've been doing is rewatching Community, a series from kind of the late aughts here. Hadn't watched it in a while. It's on Hulu, and both great because there's a very good Halloween episode. And there is one where a character literally takes a class, and the entire point is Nicolas Cage a good actor or not? And they could not really conclude it because you know what I mean. He has like all these incredible performances, in some pretty bad performances, but he kind of goes for it. So it's kind of tough to tell, right? That they really couldn't come up with. What do you think? Is it Nick Cage, good actor, bad actor, or tough to determine?
you know what? No, I think he's a good actor. I think he's a very
I
good
do
actor.
too.
I mean, he gets right into his shit. I don't know if he's full on method actor because he still is Nick Cage. Like he hasn't done like I don't think that he's done a complete transformation. Like, but he's good, man. I mean, and he takes on his role, and maybe he does, maybe those are just the roles that he is or whatever that are just similar to I don't know. He's got the mannerisms and shit that he always kind of keeps the same, or whatever. But he's got some really good roles under in his resume and shit, man. He's done a lot of really cool shit and a lot of different shit, a lot of very
Right,
vast.
for a dude who's in that many things, he's not just like being himself, right? This isn't like
Yeah,
Steve Seagal or even Samuel Jackson. And Samuel Jackson can act, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times he's paid to be Samuel Jackson. You know what I mean? That's what they want,
right.
kind of. And Nick Cage is like one of those dudes, probably like they're just hiring Nick Cage, but Nick Cage is like, oh, I'm gonna figure this out on my own, right? Kind of like Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Tropic Thunder. Like he's gonna go deep on it no matter what you hire him for.
A
Like
dude playing a dude who thinks he's another dude or whatever. I forget how it goes, but yeah, man.
yeah, right. There's a lot of
No, yeah,
levels to
man.
the
I mean,
onion
I've
there,
I've
but
grown to really like Nicolas Cage over the years, man. So
I like that he
and he's
goes
been in a
for it
lot
one
of
way or
good
the
shit.
other.
Yeah, he goes for it, dude. He's been in a lot of things, man. So, like him or not, you probably at least like a handful of movies that he's been in, no matter what, because he is such a
Yeah, Snake
all
Eyes from
across the
the
board, dude.
Brian De Palma joint from the late '90s is a good litmus test because that's right when he was kind of starting to lean into it a little bit with kind of like the bug eyes and really kind of going for it, like post face off there. So if like you can get behind that one, generally you're probably going to be along for the ride for the most part with the Nick Cage stuff. So yeah, that was Community. That's on Hulu. Been rewatching that. Also on Hulu, kind of for spooky season, I rewatched The Strain. This is a FX horror series back from probably about 10 years ago. I think it was about 2015. This is actually based on books written by Guillermo del Toro. He produced the series, directed the first episode. Definitely some vampire stuff. If you've seen Blade 2, which Del Toro directed, it'll remind you about that. A very, very solid cast here. Headline probably by Corey Stoll. You'll know from a whole bunch of stuff he's been on these days. Like he was on Billions at one point. He's been in the MCU. He's done a bunch of stuff. So that's a very cool one. It's got a lot of the, zombie versus the humans, but they do take it pretty far. Decent budget. Enjoyed that one. And here's kind of like that 80s cheese soup. It was leaving one of the services. I can't remember which one. Watched them both. One of my favorite things in the world is Sean Connery with a Scottish accent playing a character called the Spaniard. I rewatched the first two Highlanders, dude. There can be only one. When's the last time you rewatched Highlander, dude?
Dude. Yeah,
This is a good one, dude. It was fun.
way too long. I definitely. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm
It's
putting that
over
on
the top. It's
if you want.
cheesy, but especially the second one, the quickening, dude. But I'm there for it. And the actors all know the assignment generally. They know, kind of like a Nick Cage thing. They're hamming it up a little bit, but it's totally Connery's is definitely there. Like dies in the first one, spoiler. Like comes back for the paycheck in the sequel. It's just so much fun for what it is, kind of like it's they're not the greatest flicks, but I definitely enjoyed the rewatch. I don't remember anything past that. There was a TV show. That could be an interesting one to reboot if someone had an interesting spin on it, right? Like we're here to talk about kind of this Halloween prequel spin-off reboot. I'm kind of surprised no one's done anything with Highlander, right? In the autumn of 2023, Lionsgate moved forward with a reboot with Henry Cavill starring as Connor McLeod. Budget's up purportedly over 100 million. Lionsgate intends to sell it to international distributors. Karen Gillan was cast. Okay, this looks like it's happening. So
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, dude, off of Halloween shit, I also have watched the first few episodes of the Chad Powers, and it's pretty cool, man. And I figured it would be. It's kind of the premise is cool, and it's getting somewhere, man. You know how long they'll be able to pull off this facade or whatever, but that's part of the show, I guess. Wondering, are you going to get caught or not? I'm not going to give too much away about what's going on with it, but either way, man, good one. If you like, if I mean, it's about football and shit, and the actors and stuff in it are doing pretty well. It's developing, man.
yeah, Glenn Powell, I think the dude from the Twister sequel. I think he's been in a bunch of shit. Like he's been kind of hot recently.
Yeah, doing a good job there, man. Doing a good job there. So, yeah, I recommend getting on that one. I think there's only like 3 episodes out at this point, but I have seen them. There might be a fourth by now. But yeah, the first three were pretty solid. Definitely wanting to watch the fourth one. Also keeping up with the Peacemaker. I got 1 episode left. I know it's already out there. I have not seen that one yet, but once I complete all that, maybe we have a Peacemaker discussion because I know you watched
Yeah,
that
I
show.
want to. Yeah, I'm gonna binge through the. I got a couple on deck here that now that I know that it's finished, I'm gonna kind of burn through.
Yeah, definitely a good one. Definitely a good one. Obviously we've been watching the Gen V, which is incredible. You can check us out on Compound
Compound
B, and we'll
B.
tell you all about that. And we'll let you know what the B stands for. Been watching the NFL, of course, red zone in, man, whenever the Bills aren't playing. I'm red zoning when they are playing. I'm watching them, hoping for a good game tomorrow night on a Monday in Atlanta. We'll see what happens. And, it's kind of where I'm at with the holes right now, man.
All right, kind of more generally because it is the Halloween season. I thought it might be interesting just to kind of just touch on, some of our favorite Halloween episodes of television, be it, specific episodes or just shows in particular that have always killed it when it comes to Halloween. I think obviously for me, people of our age, The Simpsons is one of the first things that jumps to mind. They've been doing it for over 35 years now. The Treehouse of Horror, there's over 100 of these things, and there are some absolute classics in there. I did try to go through and watch the probably about the first 8 or so I got through, like season 2 through about 10. And man, these are all almost bangers, man. There are still some good ones. I am behind on the actual Simpsons show proper now. I'm about 2 seasons behind, but I will say even in the later seasons, the Treehouse of Horror joints are definitely ones you want to tune in for. And at this point, they've done so many things. The only problem is they're kind of running out of premises. They start having to, more or less redo movies or do spoofs of movies or that kind of thing because they've done so many things. There are so many funny episodes, just great. I obviously remember the one where Kang and Kodos were Bill Clinton and Bob Dole. One of my favorites. Do you remember this one, Soup, where Ned Flanders was the devil and Homer sold his soul to him for one donut?
I feel like I vaguely remember this one. I've seen a
Because Ned
lot.
Flanders as the devil was awesome, right? Because he's the big Christian dude, so having him as the
Yeah, yeah,
devil
yeah,
was just
yeah.
so perfect.
Yeah, I can almost picture that. I'm sure I know I've seen it. It's not too fresh in my memory. Like a lot of these are, man, I should go back and watch some. I'm never gonna get them all in.
Yeah, the one where Homer gets a monkey's paw is also great because, of
Yeah,
course,
I think I
that
remember that.
it's a monkey's paw that always backfires horribly. There's the kind of the King Kong remake. That's I think the maybe the second Treehouse of Horror where Homer
Have
is
they
basically King
have they
Kong.
ever touched on like an Evil Dead rendition or something to that effect? Or
They've definitely done like Night of the Living Dead. They've done Nightmare on Elm Street. They've done. Short answer is yes, probably. I can't think of
Evil
it
Dead?
off the top of my head. Like they've done like the Soylent Green bit was great. They've done kind of some of like the Shining, dude. Do you remember that one where they did The Shining? That's a real
The
early
Shining.
one. The
Yeah, yeah, I
Shining
remember
where
The
Homer
Shining.
goes crazy, but because he can't watch TV. And
Groundskeeper
then
Willie.
finally at the very end, like, it's basically a Shining, but instead at the end of them killing everyone, they find like a portable TV and then Homer like unweirds out because he got TV back. But they couldn't call it the Shining, so it had to be the Shinning, you know what I mean, for legal purposes.
Yeah, and Groundskeeper Willie was the one
Yeah,
who.
it's a great. Remember, he turns into that's the Nightmare on Elm Street one is where they fall asleep, and Willie is basically Freddy going into their dreams, and that's a great one because he turns into like a giant tractor wearing he's like a giant like a kilt at one point or whatever. Like he's got all the Scottish thing going on. That's another cool one. That is actually the Nightmare on Elm Street parody they did. There's so many just kind of good versions of that. They do pretty much just about like every Stephen King story you can think of, more or less. So I always enjoy all those. And staying in the animated realm, dude, South Park. Which one of these do you like better? Remember the Halloween episode with the spooky fish? That was the one with like the spooky vision and all that.
Oh yeah.
And then you had the one that was like almost Hanna-Barbera style with corn with
I do
Korn's
remember.
super where they
I do
actually
remember
brought
the corn
on
being
like
in it.
Korn, like the real band members and everything.
Yeah.
And then Hell on Earth 2006 is the one that's Halloween, but it's also Satan's Sweet 16 birthday party. So they have to make like the fake cake and they're making fun of the MTV show. And it's also like the one with where you said when you look in the mirror and what do you say like Bloody Mary three times or whatever, but in this case it's Biggie Smalls and then like the Notorious B.I.G. appears and that's a runner throughout the episode. And like he winds up partying with Butters at Satan's Sweet 16 party. That's a pretty sweet one. Any of those kind of stick out for you? Or any of the other? There's a bunch of good South Park Halloween ones as well.
Yeah, I definitely remember the corn one. Definitely remember Spooky Vision. Anything South Park does is pretty awesome, man. I'm struggling to remember this one with the that last one you're talking about. I might have to go back and revisit that, man.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
definitely
how I
that
might
was
have missed it.
early-ish 2000s when MTV used to have like my Super Sweet 16 or whatever, where it was all the rich kids having the crazy parties. So that was designed to kind of be a parody and make fun of that. So that's a really good one. There's a later years one with the goth kids. I don't remember the exact premise. Like I think they get pissed off because everyone's like stealing Halloween from them because you know what I mean they're the goth kids or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Goth Kids Strike Back or whatnot. I don't remember the exact title of it. I feel that was like the 17th, 18th season somewhere in that range. That's a real good one. I always enjoyed Brooklyn Nine-Nine just because every Halloween they did a Halloween thing, but it was a heist. So every year, like there was like basically a contest where they had to steal something, and it got like increasingly complicated as the show went on over the years. Bob's Burgers, another good one. They generally do a good job with holiday episodes. They're actually probably best known for their Thanksgiving episodes, but they've done a couple of really good Halloween episodes. I always remember Full Bars being a good one. Throw it back, dude. The League. I don't know if you've watched the League again. It's on Hulu. It's all kind of FX show. It was fantasy football based, but it was still a fairly loose improv show. Their Halloween episode from the second season, Ghost Monkey, is maybe the best episode of the series. So you can almost watch it out of context. It's still hysterical. I was talking about Community before. Epidemiology is probably the most famous of their Halloween episodes. Kind of a zombie basalt situation. Spoiler alert, don't eat like army surplus supplies that are expired. Weird stuff can happen to you. Tip one show we do talk about as well on the Night Pod Cometh is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, dude. I always love Who Got D Pregnant. Remember, this is famously the night where everyone browns out.
Yeah. It's not quite blacking out. Yeah. Browning out.
Yeah, and I feel like we're going to
Definitely.
use this term a lot, and going forward because it's a very, very cool term. But that's a great episode where they kind of have to go around and try to figure out who got pregnant. Also, love the Marine Ponderosa wedding massacre. That's season 8. That's probably the most kind of again over the top horror thing that they do, kind of parroting, the zombie thing. Again, there are some bath salts in the communal milk and pond he's involved. That's a good one. Soup, I know you're a Trailer Park Boys guy. Did they ever do a Halloween episode?
Yeah, Halloween 77, Halloween 1977 was kind of a big deal. That's when Leahy really got sent over the edge. At least that's what Bubbles and the boys think, man. When they were just little guys, they were all dressed up in their Halloween shit, and they basically that was the catalyst of the turning point that
Oh,
sent
it's like an origin story kind of
fucked
deal or
Leahy,
something?
fucked Leahy's life up a little bit. But I mean, he might have been all right. No, that was probably it. That was probably what fucked him. But good one. Yeah, check out Halloween 1977 if you are or are not a Trailer Park Boys fan. Maybe that'll get you into it. Maybe not.
Yeah, if you're staying up in Canada, I'd love to see what a Shoresy Halloween would look like.
Yeah, maybe we'll get one. Who knows? That'd be nice. Yeah.
Shout out season 2 of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Trick or Treat. That was one of my kind of more favorite Curb episodes. That was a good one. And Supia, you're kind of, it's not really Halloween, But are you big on like the American Horror Story? Because when you look up
Oh
Halloween
yeah.
stuff, like that, this like show seems like it was built for this kind of time of year.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing I used to love. Like the first handful, I say 4 or 5 seasons were awesome. And every like September when it would come out and it would turn, it would start getting into fall and autumn, and the show would carry through to like till Halloween, sometimes even after Halloween, because they'd have the Halloween episode in a couple of the earlier seasons too. So, yeah, I always looked forward to when that came out, and it did carry you through the Halloween season. And yeah, the first seasons there were awesome. I don't know that I'd seen the latest one or even maybe the one before that because I kind of fell off it
Yeah, they had
after.
a spin-off too, I think.
Yeah, the spinoff was pretty cool too. The stories, plural. And the first couple of those were very cool. Maybe I should give them a chance and go back and see what's going on with it, as of late. But yeah, the first few seasons, man, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Like, yeah, I used to love them, man. It was something I looked forward to. It was one of those, man, when the next one comes on, you're ready because it's like, shh, it's an intense show, man. So, and their approaches were very cool. Like every season was different. It wasn't like the same characters, but it's
Yeah, I
still
like the anthology approach or whatever. I've only ever caught like a couple random episodes. It's not entirely, my cup of tea, but Ryan Murphy's made a lot of popular television, so some people really seem to like it. So
Yeah, I mean, there's some really really good seasons of that, man, especially the earlier ones.
yeah, that seems like one you can actually probably pick and choose though and jump in. There are some shows that are that long, there's no way you could just jump into like season 8, but because it's an anthology, you can probably do that. So that is kind of nice that you could just kind of pick and choose the better seasons if you wanted to and not really lose out on anything.
Mhm.
Doesn't it feel like back in the day, like shows did more? I mean, maybe it's because everything had a set schedule, it came out every year, there were 22 episodes. But I remember back in the day, shows like Home Improvement, Family Matters, Roseanne, like there were always like Halloween episodes, right? Like every year, and it would be like a whole thing. I kind of miss that, right? I don't think it happens as much, especially in live action.
Yeah, I think that's because shows like that, it would depend on when they were airing, I think, because like if it and it usually was, the beginning of fall, back to school season and shit. I remember shows like Home Improvement and Roseanne and whatnot. And it was definitely, a lot of those I remember being like, the back to school season for it. So if your show is airing during the month of October over the week of Halloween, I would probably try and do a Halloween episode too, knowing that, you know, here's when that's gonna happen. So
Yeah, I remember like some old like when I was really young, like the TGI Friday. Like I think I remember a Perfect Strangers Halloween episode,
oh shit, I know
Family
exactly.
Matters, Family Matters
Yeah.
Halloween episode. Like
Did
you know what
Full
I mean?
House
But
ever have
that's
one? I think
yeah,
Full
well,
House.
Full House had one. I think yeah, that was in that because that'd be back to back. There might have been a Halloween crossover between those shows actually. That might even be what we're thinking of because they were on the same network at the same time. So that might have even been a thing.
Part of the TGI Friday there. Remember TGI Fridays, dude? Not the
Hopefully no
restaurant.
more. I mean, I used to like going to the Fridays when at the mall when I had to go with people and they wanted to shop. You go to the Fridays and they had the big beers for cheap. They were very cold. They give you the chilled glasses, a good TV, a nice big wide bar. There was usually nobody there.
Right. I wasn't talking about the restaurant though. They used to call it TGI TGI
Oh yeah,
Friday,
right. TJ, right? They
TGIF
got it
or whatever.
right.
But on Friday nights, but there was that string of shows like Full House
Yeah,
and
right. It
fucking
was that block. I'm
yeah.
busting your balls a little bit. There was a what was it? Was it a different world or different? I'm trying to remember what else was on there. Step by step, maybe.
Yeah.
Growing Pains was
I don't think Growing
ABC.
Pains was.
No, it was ABC, I think.
But anyway, yeah, it was a thing for a while when I was a younger version of myself watching the TV. I don't think they do it anymore. I'm not sure,
Not
but
yeah, definitely not to the degree. I know The Office did a few Halloween episodes. 30 Rock did. Parks did. Parks and Rec. Oh, I remember really liking Ghost of the Machine. That was the X Files Halloween episodes. They only did one or two. That was a really good one. And I'm a big Venture Brothers guy, so I have to shout out Very Venture Halloween because anytime I'm there for all Venture Brothers stuff. So maybe not that was a little bit of a weird one, kind of between season 4 and 5, but always enjoy it. And Reese Darby cameo, right? Love that. And we're here not only to tell you what we've watched, but what you should watch or listen to or check out or whatever. And we do that with our Sterling suggestions. This is basically the old school blockbuster video employee recommendations rack. Soup, what are you recommending here? What is your Sterling suggestion? We're kind of going with a little bit of a Halloween spooky season related thing. What are you recommending people check out?
I mean, obviously I was bouncing around all over the place and I just landed on something and said, fuck it, I'm sticking with that.
Yeah, flip a
Like,
coin
I,
or
I
spin a
won't steer
wheel.
you wrong, dude. I'm not going to steer you wrong. I'm pointing out Sterling's suggestion right here. Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton version of it is awesome, man. It's really good, dude. It's got fucking, I mean, the cast is great, of course. Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, fucking a bunch of other faces, you know. Even Jeffrey Jones, I think, makes an appearance
Christopher
in that one.
Walken, I think.
Yeah. So, is it? That's the thing. He's not in the credits, so you don't know. But you
Right.
know,
Maybe it never happened.
yeah. Anyway, very, very good one. Good take on it. Like, you know, if you like Tim Burton's vision, who's awesome at anything, and if he does something that's Halloween based, is always cool. And I always loved the story of Sleepy Hollow, you know, anyway. And I remember going to see this movie because I was so stoked about it. I was like, oh, Tim Burton, and it's rated R, you know, and it's Sleepy Hollow, you know. It's good. It's definitely very good. Something that's also on my list to, you know, try and check out every October. So Ichabod Crane, dude.
Ichabod Crane. Did you ever watch the TV show? I never did, but I knew a couple people that always tried to get me into it. I think it was on Fox for 2 or 3 seasons. Did you ever check that out?
I did, and it was actually really cool. I think I saw like at
I had
least
a
a
couple people
season of
watching.
it.
They were trying to get me into it. I just never like found the time. It was one of those
Yeah,
kind of.
I didn't complete it. I know that much, but I did start watching it. I did like it, you know. So maybe it's something I should get back
Yeah,
into.
if it's
And
streaming somewhere, that's one I'd maybe like to check out. So it's not a huge lift. It's only like 2 or 3 seasons, and I don't think they're a full 22 or anything. So that's not that big to check out. And I didn't go full on Halloween, but I decided to kind of go with something horror or kind of scarier on that end. And this is one of my favorite horror type of flicks, and this is Event Horizon. You remember this one, Soup? 1997.
yeah,
This is Paul
dude.
Anderson, the Paul W.S. Anderson, most notably known for the Resident Evil movies. He's also the dude who directed the original OG Mortal Kombat live action movie from the 90s. Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, amongst others. This is a crazy flick, dude. Like,
Real
this is
crazy,
maybe
dude.
one of the bloodiest, most horrific flicks that I've watched, but it's a really great blend of sci-fi and horror with some kind of thriller aspects. Like, is it science fiction? Is it horror? You know, there's other dimensions. Great Sam Neill role. I mean, I think everyone is great in this. I It's kind of weird. This wouldn't be one that would usually be in my wheelhouse, but I don't know why, man. I always saw this one and it always got me. Watched the regular version, the director's cut. I've rewatched it a bunch of times over the years. So, is this one you've checked out much, Soup? Are you familiar with the Event Horizon?
Yes, yes, I am, and a great choice, dude. Event Horizon is definitely a fucking. It's pretty savage, dude. You know, and it's a thinker, man. It gets right into the brain and the you know, yeah, a good fucking movie, man. Very good movie. I need to watch that one.
Yeah, it's definitely very bloody, but it's got kind of thriller aspects. It keeps you guessing.
Yeah, it's a
Cool
medical.
ending.
You know? I remember when I first saw. Yeah, I remember when I first saw it, and I had no idea what I was getting into, and I was younger, of course, and I was like, "Holy fuck, man! That shit just blew my mind a little bit." Yeah, very good one. Good choice, dude.
It's time to start moving closer to Halloween. And we're going to start out with the 6 degrees of Lebowski as we connect us dudes to the dude via the flick. First up, we're gonna go do it the easy way, Soup. You know, it's a Marty McFly style. You can do it the easy way or the hard way. We're gonna do it the easy way. We have Tyler Mane here. We might as well use him. He was the lead here as Michael Myers in Halloween 2007. But he also played Sabretooth in the original X-Men movies, which means he appeared as Sabretooth in Deadpool and Wolverine. In that flick, we had Ryan Reynolds, who played Deadpool, Wade Wilson, and he also starred in R.I.P.D. as Nick alongside Jeff Bridges, who played Roy. And of course, Jeff Bridges is the dude. So we managed to connect us dudes through Tyler Mane, through Michael Myers to the dude. But that was almost too easy. So it was almost child's play, Soup. So we need to make it more complex than that. So we're going to take Brad Dourif here, who was in the Halloween remake, but we most know him from Child's Play, the original Child's Play from 1988, where he played Charles Lee Ray, and most notably the voice of Chucky, the evil doll. And also in that movie, we had Chris Sarandon, who played Mike Norris. And Soup probably likes this because in The Nightmare Before Christmas, Chris Sarandon was actually the regular voice actor for Jack Skellington, not the singing voice, but he was the voice actor. Also in The Nightmare Before Christmas, we had Glenn Shaddix playing the mayor. And we're not going to go to Beetlejuice like you might think. No, we're going to go to Demolition Man because in Demolition Man, Glenn Shaddix played Associate Bob and Wesley Snipes played Simon Phoenix. Great name. In U.S. Marshals, Wesley Snipes played Sheridan, and Tommy Lee Jones played Samuel Gerard. In Blown Away, Tommy Lee Jones played Ryan Garrity, and Jeff Bridges played Lieutenant Jimmy Dove. And once again, Jeff Bridges is the dude. Didn't even need all 6 degrees. Worked in some Child's Play. Worked in some old school X-Men. I assume, can you believe the original, like when they made that X-Men movie? That was 25 years ago. I swear to God, Hugh Jackson looks the same age. Maybe younger somehow.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That might be witchcraft.
Some of the it might be witchcraft, man. Some of those people they just don't like, seem to get older as quickly, you know. I mean, might be the witchcraft, might be Death Becomes Her situation going on there, man. That's a good one to watch. That's a good.
Oh yeah, it's been a minute for Death Becomes Her, dude. That
Been a
is
minute.
that's also a good one, dude. We like that. But we're not here to do Death Becomes Here. Our featured review is Halloween 2007. This was directed by Rob Zombie on a screenplay also written by Rob Zombie, obviously based on Halloween by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, produced by Malika Akkad, Andy Gould, and Rob Zombie. Cinematographer was Phil Parmet, edited by Glenn Garland, music by Tyler Bates. Originally released August 31st, 2007, on a budget of about $15 million, returned roughly $80.4 million at the box office, starring Malcolm McDowell, Sherry Moon Zombie, Tyler Main, Scott Taylor Compton, Brad Dourif, Daniel Harris, and William Forsythe. Let's get into this soup. Normally we start kind of with our overall thoughts or something, but in this case, you had your choice. We could talk about any kind of Halloween, horror, slasher, whatever season appropriate flick, episode of television, whatever you wanted. You went with this Halloween prequel slash remake by Rob Zombie. What made you go with this one?
Well, I mean, there's tons to choose from, and we hadn't done it yet. We haven't done, I don't think we've done a Rob Zombie movie at all. So I figured I'd throw it out there, man, and I really liked what he did with this, with keeping it real true to the original John Carpenter idea and movie itself, with giving it his own twist, and he just did an excellent job with remaking a movie that was already awesome anyway. So normally I don't really love that kind of thing, but I think it was a success, and yeah, so it stood out, and I punched it in there, man. Like, let's go for this one, dude.
Was there any, is it because you have an allegiance to Rob Zombie, or you like the Halloween franchise, or just kind of it just one that?
Yeah, be a little bit of both, because I mean, Halloween. You think Halloween, obviously, because it takes place then, and there's a lot of other Halloween movies out there, like more, I guess you could call spooky or whatever if you want to go into like ghosts and shit like that, or whatever the fuck. But this one, I feel like it's something that we could dive into a little bit and have a pretty good discussions about a few aspects of this, especially since it's a redo and because it's like a franchise and a lot of people have kind of put their fingers on it here and there, man. And so yeah, I just thought it would be a good one for us to do, and it's definitely a good movie. I highly recommend watching it if you haven't, and it's intense, man. It's just all in all a good movie, especially because it is Halloween, it's Halloween time, and it's one of those that should be in the Halloween rotation, man.
It's probably a flick that I would be interested to know what my reaction would have been if I'd never seen the original Halloween. You know what I mean? If I
Right.
saw this one without knowing anything going in, or that it was a prequel or remake or something like that. Because I think definitely a well-made flick. These aren't really like generally my jam. I don't mind watching them, but I'm more of like a thriller kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like if I want my tension built that way, like that. Maybe more like the original, like Terminator, Alien, kind of that aesthetic. Maybe a little bit more, sci-fi than supernatural when it comes to the source of the tension. But this really wasn't even overly supernatural. I mean, he gets shot a couple of times, but for the most part, they did a kind of an interesting job, almost not of humanizing Michael Myers, but I was kind of rooting for him at some point. So, what was kind of your existing relationship with the Halloween franchise? Coming into this one, was you a huge stan, or kind of like you like it, but you just generally like everything in this genre? Because I think the reaction was mixed somewhat, because I think a lot of the hardcore Halloween fans weren't wild about some of the changes he made to the canon, whereas because I'm a more casual fan, I really didn't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of of the original Halloween anyway. Now it went a little bit too far with some of the sequels and going through the 80s and whatnot, and that's fine. Some of those are good on a rewatch too, just for nostalgic purposes and everything else. They did come back pretty strong with the Halloween H2O, which brought back Jamie Lee Curtis,
Is
and I
that the
thought
one
that
with Busta Rhymes?
Josh Hartnett, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
Buster.
okay, yeah. So that's the last one I've seen that one. Like I don't I'm not I know I've seen one a bunch of times. I've seen two several times. I'm not really familiar with three or anything past that, but I do know that HBO. Now I've watched this one, and then I have watched the David Gordon Green kind of sequel series where I think they ignored everything after Halloween 2.
That triple header or whatever the fuck it is, it was good, dude. But I mean, I have a I feel like the what Rob Zombie did with his one and two, just wrap it up, and two, and that's the end. That's what you need. That's the story of Michael Myers right there. You don't need a bunch of ridiculous fucking sequels and shit just to make a fucking sequel for it. Back in the day when that was happening, it was happening a lot. It wasn't just with this; it was with other things like Friday the 13th and shit like that. Like there was a lot of movies that just were having sequels to have
Or
sequels.
they
And
ran out of years, like, all right, let's just cross them over then. Like I was reading kind of the development of this movie. At one point, it seemed like a big deal that they really wanted to cross over Michael Myers, Halloween with Hellraiser to get like a pinhead Michael Myers thing going on. I guess that could have been all right, but
when they did Freddy vs. Jason, that one was okay. That was actually pretty good. Freddy vs. Jason was pretty
I
good.
remember the final kind of like showdown scene of that. But I've seen that like twice, and I barely remember any of it. I would have
Yeah,
liked
I'll
more.
give that one for a crossover. That one was solid, man. And there's been
It's
talk of
probably
doing
better
a
than either
lot.
the Alien versus Predator, so they've got that going
I would
for
I
them.
would say so. Yeah, I would. But yeah, I mean, there's been talk of doing another one of those as well. Like who knows if that'll happen, but I would be down if it did. Anyway, yeah, good shit. So yeah, I mean, as far as the Halloween movies go, man, I mean, touching on something like this that is as big of a deal as it is, and Rob Zombie getting full rights to be able to do it, you knew he had, I mean, he had a good fucking plan going in, obviously. And I think he succeeded, man. I mean, I love the way he makes movies, his soundtracks, like he built, and the way he puts you right into the 70s, man. Like he grew up in that
Yeah,
era.
he's heavy. That was I was gonna say. It's very 70s, like heavy pulpy. Like a lot of these people are assholes, dude. Like actually, it makes you kind of I think root for Michael Myers at some point because all these people kind of suck. You know what I mean? Like you're not even sure you're supposed to root for. But I didn't mind that.
Yeah, there is that to it also.
Everyone's kind of a little bit over the top. You know what I mean? There is no like someone you're supposed to root for. Which makes it kind of unclear whether or not you're supposed to root for Michael Myers, which is I think what you're going for a little bit when you kind of focus the first two acts on him, right? You know what I mean? Like whereas in the original Halloween, it's not really his film; it's Laurie's film, kind of, and then Michael Myers is the shape. Here he is not quite all the way humanized, but you kind of can actually empathize with him a little bit. Like when he kills that bully early in the film, I was rooting for him to kill him. I feel bad, but I was.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one of the more intense scenes. That's Michael's first human kill. He
Right, because he kind of
killed animals and
moves the
whatnot.
mask, like you know what I mean, mask on, mask off, then and then
Right,
he
yeah,
always has
that's
a
the thing
mask
that he
on throughout.
does. Like, yeah, he does that more often. Like, as he kills people, sometimes he'll take the mask off for a minute, put it right back on, and be like, that's kind of crazy too. But that's part of the thing, and just puts you like, if you're the victim right here, like that's what I liked about this. Like, I saw that when I saw this in the theaters. This was the first scene that was like, oh shit, man, Zombie with the cinematography, dude. Where just like, he's getting fucking beat with that fucking, log or whatever the fuck, man. And you just see from his point, just like the spinning, just the spinning and the way the sound just like silences. And I don't know, man, it was very intense. Him being able to put you in the perspective of both of them, that's what he does, man. He's good at it.
Yeah, I thought for the most part, all the visuals, the cinematography, everything was pretty good. It gets a little bit dark at the end, but that's kind of how it works in horror movies. They were a nice, I think, especially in the opening act, like in the house, they shot a lot of stuff. It looked like at least the illusion of natural light coming in through the windows, and a lot of good use of shadow and everything. So I thought it looked really cool.
I will say that Rob Zombie, I know this. He's big on wanting things to look realistic, especially when it comes to even something as simple as like is like in one of his interviews, one of his pet peeves is bad wigs. So he wants that to be perfect. That and realistic like kills. When it comes to like blood and gore, he wants that to look as real as possible. And I think he does a pretty good fucking job at that too. I mean. Um,
I think he does a great job. I mean, really, the only kind of supernatural thing is, Michael getting shot a few times and being able to walk through it. Everything else, I mean, yeah, he's a little bit, kind of strong, but I mean, he's a huge ass dude, so you can get away with that, I
Yes,
think.
dude. Right. I think so too. I think he kept it realistic enough to be like,
It tracks.
maybe he took two, three bullets and still fucking survived because he is a huge fucking dude. It depends. Like now, if he took a direct fucking bullet to the brain or something, he might not have made it. But who knows what happens at the end of this one because we know there's a sequel.
Right, they make it kind of,
But
ambiguous
after
as to
that
whether or
second
not.
part, that's another one. Like we're not going to get into that one, but that's kind of how it all wraps up, and it does wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw it in there, if you would like or whatever. I didn't make it all the way through. I started watching, but I like how it was a direct continuation of the story. So
Right
I
where it
like the
left
way you're
off,
pitching
dude.
it, that
Right
it's
where,
kind of like
yeah,
just a two-parter, and you
yeah.
get to get the whole story within the two flicks. So
That's
I
definitely what
don't
it is.
mind that. Yeah, I don't need there to be infinite sequels or anything like that. Overall, do you like the kind of the choice they made to blend it with aspects of a prequel with kind of new information, but also a remake? We talked about they changed kind of two main things, right? The origin of the mask, and then the fact that he winds up being related to Laurie.
The way that that Rob Zombie does it here, and developing the young Michael Myers character, and just like right away, that's where it starts. And him, with the rat right away, and then his fucked up home life, and his mom is so sweet to him and so it's so nice to him, so and then you got the asshole stepfather there, played by William Forsythe, who has also worked with Rob Zombie a lot, who's awesome. He plays the role great, but he's a fucking asshole, you know what I mean?
Oh, terrible! I mean, it makes you sympathize with Michael. You know what I mean? Like
So,
you feel
the,
bad for
the
this
home
kid.
life situation kind of sucks, but because Sherry Moon Zombie, who plays Michael's mother, she's so nice to him. She's like the guiding light, and we'll see more of that in the second part of this. Um, but as far as the part one goes, yeah, I mean, I don't know. So it's a balance of like a 50-50 with the home life, and then you got the sister. Obviously, the older sister doesn't give a fuck, she's doing her own thing. But it could have been worse. Like it wasn't that fucked up, but it was fucked up enough to make him, and he already had the issues. He was just born with the issues anyway, I guess. But yeah, we're killing the rat. That was the first thing, the rat, that we knew about. And then, the all the animals, and they found the dead cat and shit, so that's the first sign. That's where
Nice escalation. I like the way they did that,
definitely
right?
that's
You
how
see
they
him
built
kind of
that up.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, washing his hands with the rat, and then they find, the dead joint in his backpack or whatever, and then kind of like keeps going up from there. Yeah, I mean, good, good subtle kills too. I like the duct tape kill because that's cold blooded, dude. Like
Oh,
duct
that's
tape the
harsh.
dude,
Yeah.
and then just, and you can't even hear him because he duct tape his mouth. Like that, a lot of solid, good kills here. I like it. You pointed that out about Rob Zombie's aesthetic, really. Like these were really like some of the other Michael Myers kills. I think, especially when you do a lot of sequels, something like this, the tendency is to try to keep going over the top and over the top and over the top. Here they went with more kind of subtlety and brutality, and I like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a savage motherfucker, dude. And I think the way it is depicted in this movie, especially, is just so how like when it really does show him, in the moment, it's pretty fucking intense, man. You can just tell, you can just feel his like the evil, the fucking, not giving a fuck at all, just brutally fucking slaying people. It's hardcore, man.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was all, generally well portrayed. Do you think they did a good job of blending kind of the prequel aspects and then, making it a remake, but also, like I mentioned, changing a couple of the kind of the main aspects up?
Yeah, I think, and a lot of it is, Rob Zombie, he's good with writing the dialogue and creating a situation like that. Those little elements as far as feeding into the building of what Michael Myers as a child is, and the shit around him, his situation around him, even as far as like, getting picked on at school and shit, and
Right, it's really 70s-ish, like you mentioned, like pulpy, kind of over the top at certain points, but it gives you an idea, like, yeah, like when he snaps, exactly like you said, he had pre-existing problems, then, he just gets pushed over the edge, and then, that happens like twice in the flick, right? Once here in high
yeah.
school or in school, and then second time in the asylum.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. I mean, he kills the kid in the woods, and again, very intense scene. It kind of opened up to what this movie is going to really bring you, kind of. And
As a dude, I will say that was a cool stick, dude. Very cool stick. I don't know where he found it, but I feel bad he killed somebody with it. Now it's bloodstained, but it was a cool stick.
Murder stick. It's definitely a murder
I'm there
stick.
for a good stick, dude.
Yeah. But then and then he goes home and it's, he knows he's in trouble, but his mom is still so nice to him, but still stern, enough to, but he doesn't get to go trick or treating, because nobody took him. His older sister didn't
I
take him.
like the shots of him on the curb in front of the house. I
Yeah.
thought that was really
And
good.
and you got again, we got excellent choice of fucking soundtrack here. You got Love Hurts playing behind that, and then you got the scenes of his mom at work, who is a stripper and shit, and
Yeah, I like when he was showing the
pretty good.
newspaper article, right? And then he pulls it
Yeah,
out later. I thought that was
right.
a nice touch, like, or the
Oh,
advertisement
absolutely.
from the
Yeah,
newspaper for the classifieds. I thought that was
right.
cool.
Yep, yep,
I
definitely,
like the
man.
setup of the mask. I think probably the ultra, Halloween fans who want it, everything the certain way. I like the setup with, he's got kind of the clownish mask on in the kind of the first act. He makes all the paper mache masks, and then, he goes back and then finds. I like the origin of the mask. That is like the dude who was fucking his sister, right? That was
Right.
who had the Michael Myers mask. I don't mind that he hit it under the.
Dude, I like the mask reveal right away because I mean, like about Halloween if you're watching this movie, probably most likely. Some people might have gone in blind and not have known who the fuck Michael Myers is. I don't really see it, but most people know. And then when that mask comes out, and that was one thing, if I'm Rob Zombie and if I know anything about him, I'm sure he paid a lot of attention on making sure that mask reveal was fucking
Oh,
perfect.
he
And
did the shot
I
where he
know that.
holds it in his hands from the side, like that. It's a very, very cool shot. Like it's almost like biblical or whatever. Like you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
tell what he
yeah.
was going for
And then the
there.
kid puts it on. He's the first one to ever put that thing on. And he's the victim of the baseball bat later on. And he's like, "Come on, I want to do it with the mask on." So I thought that was kind of cool
Right, and
too.
add to the fucked upness when he comes in with the mask on for his sister, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is not a cast like I was super familiar with, but I think, outside of Malcolm McDowell, I think they all did a pretty good job.
I recognized a lot of the cast because I've watched a lot of Rob Zombie's movies, and he uses a lot of the same crew and cast members.
Yeah, I
And
think the
so
only Rob Zombie film I've seen other than this, like, was Devil's Rejects, I think.
And Devil's Rejects is probably his best movie.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed that one. I
And
thought
that would
that
be one
so
that's one I definitely want to bring up, and we'll probably talk about at some point if it wins or I get there. But anyway, I'm definitely gonna.
by hook or by crook, you'll get in there. That
Uh,
or Frankie the Fly.
Man, one of these days, dude.
One of these days. Anything else kind of on the
The Devil's Rejects was the movie that made me really, really get into Rob Zombie, though. That's when
was
I
it
was
his
like, "Oh,
first one
fuck
or
this
was that
dude."
kind of like were there ones
Well, it
before
was
that?
no, House of a Thousand Corpses
Oh,
was.
okay, I've heard of that. I might have seen that back in the day, but I don't
I,
remember it
I
at
like
all.
that a lot too, and that was like, oh shit, man, Rob Zombie's
I
pretty
remember
fucking.
that was well reviewed at least. Like I remember vaguely kind of it. I think I watched it, but again, probably a long, long time
It's
ago.
that movie is the reason why Devil's Rejects is where they're at. It's the prequel to Devil's Rejects. It's
Right.
the part one of that. But but yeah, anyway, we're not here to talk about that, but hopefully
Well, we
we'll
can
one
check them
day
out, dude. It's worth.
check them
It's
out.
probably
Yeah.
worth checking out. Yeah, I generally like the setup there. With Michael going into the asylum. I don't know if I buy Malcolm McDowell with the long hair. That was a little bit much, but by the time then when you jump ahead and then you get him kind of bald with the beard, the goatee, it makes it pay off a little bit. So I actually thought I enjoyed most of the asylum stuff. Interesting role for Danny Trejo too, who plays kind of like the nice guard. That's almost casting against type. I like that.
Yeah, dude. Again, Danny Trejo has worked with Rob Zombie in The Devil's Rejects prior to this, and I think he definitely worked with him in a couple other movies as well, maybe after this. So, another familiar face, and he's always good to see, and he was so nice, like he was Michael's buddy, dude, which is why that's one thing about the movie I didn't like. But it's a bittersweet kind of thing because like I didn't like that Michael killed him and shit.
Well, see, I thought that was the point where because the film to that point had been making you kind of sympathize with Michael, and they had to
Yeah.
start turning him into the monster, so he had to kill him. Same thing. I felt bad, but I felt like they had to do it if he was going to kind of become like a real like terrorizing force in the third act.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. I didn't like it, and I don't like that he wasn't like super easy on him, but it did show that exactly. It definitely like was that not that this dude does have no fucking emotion, fucking human anything. He's just a fucking murder machine. So but
Right, the shape.
did he give Laurie Strode a chance? We'll get there when we get to that point of the movie, but like that's where he went, where he was after it was his hunt. That's what he was hunting down. I feel like he did give her a chance because he busted out the picture and shit. And then we'll talk. So that might have been the only
Right,
person.
yeah, I get like that's one thing, yeah, because I think they talked about alternate endings where he could have called her Boo again or whatever, but they thought the picture was kind of good enough, and to kind of represent a reason why he came back and did this, and that kind of reckons back to the point. I like the way they kind of combine the the prequel and remake aspects because it made it more of a point that he came back to Haddonfield, right? And like he was doing what he was doing, so for better or worse, like he's still a force of nature, but he was also kind of on a mission. He wasn't just like randomly out there killing people indiscriminately or what have you.
Yeah, anyone in his way, he fucking took out. Like even the truck driver dude. When he
Oh,
just
I
needs to.
like that dude. As soon as he
That dude,
came on,
dude, he's awesome. He's in the Devil's Rejects too. Like Rob Zombie's used him in a couple other in 31, I think. Like he's been in a couple of movies, man. He's awesome in Devil's Rejects too, man. But
literally in my notes, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like this dude." Like I could just tell. Like, and it's nice because I think they use it as a good chance because he was kind of a big dude. He could handle himself to show like just how strong and powerful Michael was. So I thought that was a well done. I like that whole bit with him.
what's his name? Ken Foree. I think it's Ken
Yeah,
Foree.
Kenny or yeah, something with a K. I have it in my notes, but yes, he was
Yeah,
walking
he's
in
good
there.
too, dude.
Yeah, yeah, he was just he's really
I'm Joe
solid.
Grizzly, bitch.
Oh,
It's funny because he had the shitter, dude. How creepy is he, dude? You see the nasty feet? Like, look at Michael Myers' nasty, dirty ass feet up under the thing, and he's just beating on the door. Imagine you're in the shitter and that happens to you, man. What the fuck, dude? Creepy. On that note, I gotta take this.
it was Grizzly, but Grizzley. So it's not quite like upgrade, but it is Grizzly, not spelled exactly the way you think it would be. It's got an extra E. One of the the bigger parts kind of the the flick kind of like when you start moving on is when he breaks out. Apparently originally the entire breakout was different. There was a work print copy of this that was released online before the flick actually dropped, and it was more like what test audiences saw. And apparently originally when Michael escapes, like I don't know exactly how he escaped, but he walked in on basically orderlies raping the female prisoner.
They were wearing his masks and shit that he was. Yeah, I've seen that version
Right.
too.
Right. So here they change it up a little bit. So they actually bring the female into his room with all of the masks. And then to me, I don't even know if he was going to avenge him, but once they messed with the masks, I was like, oh, this is going to be over. And then I thought, it was a pretty satisfying escape overall. Again, we talked about it. It kind of sucks that he killed Danny Trejo's character, but I thought this was, pretty well done. I have not seen the original version, but I like this version. Remind me a little bit of Kill Bill, right? When the bride kind of gets her revenge. Like it was hard for me not to like think
It's
about that
very
there.
similar to some. It's definitely that kind of moment, like, fucking buck, dude.
I mean, he's here, and you know what he's here to do.
Right.
I mean, how about Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis? We haven't mentioned him very much. He's kind of over the top. I felt that he wasn't like being overly exploitive of Michael for the most part, and that he actually cared, which made the payoff kind of in the final act worth it. Dr. Loomis is kind of a little bit different, maybe in the original Halloween flicks, but I like what Malcolm McDowell did here. I think he said he didn't even ever watch the original Halloween. Do you like what he did with Dr. Loomis overall, and do you kind of like that relationship he had with Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think he did a great job here with playing Loomis, dude. And spot on. It wasn't so much into the fucking greedy griminess of him writing the book and shit, because I think a lot of people hate that he was like trying to make money off it, and you'll see that more in the sequel. Well, not the sequel, the second part of this is like how people just do it. But Sheriff Brackett already just let him know he didn't like him because of that. But either way, fucking I think he did an incredible job playing this character, man. And was he a better Loomis than the original Loomis? Hey, right there, right there. I'll give him right there.
I believe that he actually cared about Michael though, and that
Yeah.
I always thought like maybe he wasn't trying to exploit him, but he basically kind of probably devoted way too much of his life to this crazy dude. And
It's one of those things where, like, what do they call it? Not the Stockholm syndrome, but similar to that, where you spend 15 years every day for 15, 20 fucking years, especially with like 15 of those years being without any other dialogue whatsoever out of the other person. Like that's
yeah,
fucking
that's wild. I mean, that's literally spending 10,000 days talking to a brick wall.
yeah. But the thing about that is like that period of time with I mean, you're thinking about that, man. I mean, that's almost 2 fucking decades here of Michael making masks and just be like that's
I
the whole
like
thing.
that visual. I wish they would have shown us more of that because you got kind of the outside shot. You didn't get like a full view of all the different masks. I'm sure like the set designers spent a ton of time on that shit. That
Yeah.
looked very cool and very scary as shit at the
A lot
same
of them are
time.
very cool and very scary, dude, and I love it, dude. And I love this. I love the progression here. How he gradually gets to just permanently behind the mask, and then and eventually into just complete silence too. Like his descension into that is what is kind of a
Yeah,
development.
right. I kind of remember like at
Huge
the end of like
development
the
of his
last time his
character,
mom came, like when she
Right.
removed the mask, he flipped out and then he didn't talk after that. Like I thought they did a very, very good job of making the mask like, it's a huge kind of, just very important like
Going back to the beginning of this movie real quick. I know we've already gone past this in the timeline, but what sometimes then is now. So right now, earlier on in the flick, like as it's the opening scene, pretty much, and the baby's crying, then it calms down. Michael comes in, and he's got the mask on, and what's his name, Ronnie, the stepfather, there is being a dick to him, and he's like, "Take that fucking mask off and shit," and he snaps the mask off, and all of a sudden, Lori starts crying again. As soon as that mask comes off, she screams. And we'll see that again later on in the shit. Like it's when Michael's mom comes into the asylum, which we haven't gotten to yet. But when he does the thing with the nurse, and the mask comes off, and she sees his face, and just her fucking, I don't know, that scene. We'll get into that scene when we
yeah,
get
that's
there. But
exactly what I was talking about, dude. That's the exact scene I was talking about.
yeah, that scene right there, man, like with the siren going off, and his hair just swirling around, and her just screaming, and like there's the intensity of like how you felt like you were almost there, but like holy fuck, it's like surreal kind of. Like that was one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie, is that one right there, man, because it just like really fucking got you and nails you, and like you know
I thought that one was well shot because everything was kind of spotless, right? It's like the sanitarium, the cafeteria, everything, and then all that blood, and then you kind of see him covered in blood, and I thought that was well, the turning point, right? Because his mom was like his last link to humanity, or at least that's the way I kind of interpreted it.
yeah, absolutely, and then once he shut her out, she
Yeah, I
fell
mean, once
apart.
it's over, then right? Like he does the whole escape. I liked the idea that he went back and found like the original knife in the mask.
Mhm.
I will say I think I enjoyed the kind of the prequel aspects more than the kind of final act and a half here where he basically goes back to Haddonfield and starts killing. But I enjoyed the kills. I thought it was fairly tense. I don't know if it was quite living up to the original in that aspect. So maybe the beginning was slightly more favorable for me than the end. But I enjoyed it overall, and I thought that it was a very nice kind of choice to end it on a little bit of an ambiguous moment. It kind of, what do you got kind of past what is actually your favorite? Let me ask you. Do you prefer these kind of prequel moments, or do you like when they get more into the remake aspect of it?
I mean, I like the whole thing, dude, but it's like
Right, six and one, half dozen the other. I get it.
yeah. The prequel shit is definitely probably more like I probably enjoy that just a little bit more, because
It held my interest a little more. I guess I should say that.
what happens when you try to do something like this, it's difficult because you have to redevelop new characters. Halfway through the movie, or at a certain point in the movie, a good chunk in, you go from that prequel shit to like 15 years later, and now you're bringing in new characters, like even Laurie Strode and everything, just in that whole fucking the new Haddonfield, of 20 years later or 17 years later or whatever the fuck. So there's that, and you got to work your way into that. So and a lot of times, a lot of cases, it'll slow the movie down. Here, it definitely did a little bit, but not enough to where it was like annoying, because it moved well enough along with action and kind of like intensity that it didn't really slow it down enough to be annoying. But there still is that you do still have to pump the brakes in order to develop that new setting and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pacing was fine overall. Like, I think this one checked in about 2 hours. If I had my druthers, maybe I watched the director's cut. I'm not actually sure which version I watched, to be perfectly honest. I feel like something more in the, an hour 45. You could have probably tightened up a little bit of this, but I enjoyed the kills. It just maybe, there was a little bit of lingering going on, but like you said, you got to set up Laurie and then kind of the classic Halloween aspects of the flick. I did like some of the kills here. Some were pretty brutal. I especially remember the one where what do you do like hang the chick and put the pumpkin on her head or whatever. That one was especially brutal. Just again zombie here like a lot of nudity, kind of just gratuitous, just over the top, just violence here. What was it when Michael comes in wearing like the sheet with the glasses or whatever? That was very cool as
Yeah.
well. That was a cool kill.
Yeah, and that was definitely kind of a throwback to when he first put the Michael Myers mask on and went in and kind of like tricked his sister, tricked his
Yeah.
sister, not tricked his sister, tricked his sister. And he kind of went in with the same plan with that. At least it reminded me of it. So it was throwing one out there. You know, Sometimes you got to do a repeater, not exactly a repeater, but.
Yeah, like I mean, all these kills seem like again fairly original, but not over the top, which I actually liked for the mo. I don't want like to make stuff like arbitrarily make it like a Final Destination situation or something just to get like a new kill or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean the whole thing about Michael Myers, he is extremely violently brutal.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, he just, kills very simply, right? He just stabs people or bludgeons them to death, kicks their head into a wall, whatever. Yeah, I thought that they did a good job overall when they, basically get Laurie involved, the Professor, Loomis got to come back in there, get the cops, whatever, get the final showdown. I know where the original Halloween went, so I was very curiously kind of watching this. All right, what are they going to do kind of as this comes to a conclusion here? And I like the choice that they made. I bet you there were people in the theater that were probably pissed where she kind of pulls that trigger and it's left a little bit ambiguous and you just cut to directed by Rob Zombie. Like that
Yeah.
takes some balls, but I actually kind of really like that ending.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is the next part picks right up right there, you
But you
know.
didn't know, like he didn't know he was getting a sequel when he made it. So I give him the,
Right.
the credit for the balls to do it.
Part two ties a lot of the loose ends up a little bit, and a little bit. No, it ties the loose ends up, and it really wraps up the flick or the story.
Yeah, I watched the first 45 minutes and I remember my first note was, wow, part two picks up like pretty much right, seamlessly with
Right
part
there.
one.
Yeah,
So,
right there, like it just
so
happened.
even if it wasn't intended to have a sequel, I think they did do a good job of it. Or at least, I haven't seen the flick all the way through, but I like the first part. It was a long day of football yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. I do think that one of my only complaints would be the final like Laurie Strode scene and shit where it went on way too long, man. Somebody would have noticed by then. I mean, that much screaming, that much everything else. Like, where the fuck are the cops, dude? They can't be that far away. How big is this fucking town, dude? So I think the response time there sucked. And how did Sam Loomis end up there first and still no fucking cops? So that kind of was like that's me nitpicking, but either way, yeah, and her chasing her around the fucking house and like shit, like kind of took a little bit long. It was very intense, like I mean, I don't know, in a situation like that, it's not like it got boring or anything, but you might have been able to trim that up a little bit, maybe not, I don't know. Either way, it was fucking good. So
Part of it is probably the obligation. You have kind of one of the legacy characters, so you want her to get some screen time and drag it out a little bit. But especially, this is probably a case where if they knew they were getting a sequel, maybe they could have edited it down a little bit towards the backside here or whatever. But for the most part, it was satisfying to me. I had a little bit more, interest kind of in getting in that first half, just because, it gave depth to Michael Myers, and I like that. John Carpenter kind of argued like, he's the shape, he should be a force of nature. but I still think you could kind of know about him and he could be a force of nature. They kind of did a good job of making it ambiguous, like whether or not you could actually kill him if you shot him. Is he kind of just big? Like, there are people all the time that get shot and survive. Like, oh, I missed all the organs or whatever. It does actually happen. It happens far more often on television and movies, don't get me wrong, but it's not exactly,
I think Nordberg took
impossible.
like 8 bullets or something, and Naked Gun 2 and
18. I mean,
18. Yeah.
it helps when you get coated in cocaine, though. That seals the wounds, I think.
Yeah. Does it? Does it? I have to look into that.
Well, I mean, you got to get shot first. Get shot and then find somebody who's willing to use the prestige cocaine to seal your wounds.
Pretty tall order there, Nordberg.
Yeah, it's taller than you think, man. Taller than you think. And you pointed it out. I like the soundtrack here. I thought it was a direct reuse of the Halloween thing, but apparently they did call it a reimagining. But we got the "Don't Fear the Reaper" drop, which was from the original Halloween. Same thing with Mr. Sandman, and there were a couple other needle drops that I liked in here. So I did enjoy the use of music, and I thought the sound design overall was pretty solid.
Yeah, dude, Rob Zombie's sick with the soundtracks, man. Like he's definitely. I mean, Devil's Reject soundtrack is right up there with like the Forrest Gump soundtrack. It's fucking awesome, as far as a legendary, perfect fucking soundtrack.
Not bad for a dude who's more human than human.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, House of a Thousand Corpses was, it was a lot of his music, which is fine. Like, but it was more of a music video, movie kind of like.
Right, exception. Like that was his toe in the
usage
water.
His usage of other music, because he does have that love for like 70s music and that 70s vibe and shit, and he's very good at fucking putting it in his shit.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of kind of reaching back to the original soundtrack and then add a couple in on top of it. I thought that was actually all well done.
Well, the actual like the Halloween theme or whatever composed by John Carpenter, because he makes the music too.
Yeah, that's
And I thought that the placement of that when it came in was absolutely clutch, and even the little sound effects and whatnot. Like he's just so good at like changing the moment with something like that, and that's what you're supposed to do. So
yeah, I give him credit, man. He's definitely a director who has kind of like a singular kind of like vision or feel or whatever, and he knows the kind of flick he wants to make. And I think it kind of carried through overall here for both of us. I thought it looked good, sounded good, well acted. The horror slasher genre isn't my favorite thing, but I think this was a good recommendation. But we have to put it to the test, the ultimate test.
So you think you're sponge-worthy?
Yes, I think I'm sponge-worthy. I think I'm very sponge-worthy.
You're nuts with these sponges.
Run down your case for me again.
She said I wasn't sponge-worthy. Wouldn't waste a sponge on me.
As proposed by Elaine Bennett, Soup, is Halloween 2007 sponge-worthy? You currently, Soup, you only have 1.5 sponges. I have 7.5 sponges, and Jamie G, not here, has 5 sponges. Soup, I'll offer you a credit here, even. I'm pretty sure you think this is sponge-worthy, but just for kicks, here's it. If you can get this right, yeah, you get a free sponge. Which 90s, 80s, 90s television show, you know it, you've talked about it, did Brad Dourif and Malcolm McDowell both guest star
on? Damn it, man.
You know it, you've mentioned it on the show.
Shit, for fuck's sake. It's got to be fucking Full House.
Oh, it's not Full House. It's Tales from the Crypt.
Damn it. Damn it. Oh,
everyone was on Tales from the Crypt, dude.
Yeah.
When in doubt, guess Tales from the Crypt or the Larry Sanders Show. That's going to get you there like at least 50% of the time. And that's who we are. We're like Sex Panther. Half the time we get you there, half the time. And dude, I'm going to make this one sponge worthy, dude. I got some sponges to work with here. Again, this is not my favorite genre, but I thought it was well done, especially for a flick of this nature. Like, it's not quite remaking The Godfather, but the original Halloween it's like a protected work of art, literally. So I think overall Rob Zombie did a good job here. So I'm going to declare it sponge worthy. Soup, how about yourself, man? You got a sponge and a half still. I didn't get the bonus sponge, but you got one to spare. Are you saying this is sponge worthy? I'm guessing yes.
Well, yeah, of course it's sponge worthy, man. It was kind of like a thing I wanted to talk about, man. So Yes, sponge-worthy, and I will spend my sponge, so it leaves me with a half a sponge, and I'm fine. I'll float on a half a
Yeah,
sponge.
you'll find a sponge somewhere else, dude.
I can float on a half a sponge, dude, for a minute. I'll find a sponge, dude, and or whatever, man. Either way, this is worth spending my sponge on. Rob Zombie Halloween, sponge-worthy for sure.
Worry about the rest tomorrow. That might be our motto. But we do have to also give a grade to Halloween 2007. And here on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, we grade everything in space bucks, 0 to 100 space bucks. Soup, I'll let you go first here. You're generally, you're pretty frivolous with the space bucks. You can give out 0 to 100. Assume you have enough here left for lunch, gas, and tolls.
Yeah, lunch gas and tolls, man. I should be able to ride out the rest of the way, giving this thing a good I'm giving this thing a good 95, man. I really like this one. It's something that kind of keeps me in touch with the Halloween every year. It's what for me, it's worth 95 space bucks, man, for a lot of reasons. Personally and fucking awesome because it was made well. So
I like that. That could be also the title of the Soups documentary. He's a little bit more free with the space bucks. I'm gonna give it a solid 80, dude. For me, that's actually a pretty good grade for something like this. I don't know if it's one I'm going to rewatch, but I think it was worth my time. It really held my interest for the most part. Maybe a touch long on the 2+ hour running time in the final act there a little bit, but I was especially really captivated by the first two acts there with the Michael Myers prequel, and then in the asylum. I thought all that was very interesting, and then most of the kills at the end were pretty good. It still had some nice tension in there, so I think we're pretty solidly in favor of this one. Soup with 95 space bucks, myself with 80. And then next time on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, we usually have some big system here where we spin wheels and talk about stuff and nominate people. But no, we already did all that. So next time up, we're going to do Army of Darkness. This is the third film in the Evil Dead series from Sam Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell. If you've never seen it, you absolutely should. It's horror, it's comedy, it's cheesy, it's over the top, it's everything it should be. Probably my favorite of the Evil Dead series. Evil Dead 2 is also very, very good. Enjoy Ass versus Evil Dead, but Army of Darkness way up there for me. Soup, you excited for this one, man? You gonna wear your chainsaw arm out for it or what?
I'll see if I can, man. I might have to bust that out, dude. If I have to
I'm
unleash
gonna
the
go get
chain.
my job back at the Save Mart, dude, real quick.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely stoked for this one, dude. I've always been a fan of Evil Dead. I remember the first time I saw Evil Dead 2. I didn't see Evil Dead 1 first. I saw Evil Dead 2, and I was young, and man, it freaked me the fuck out, man. So obviously I was interested in it, so I revisited it down the road and everything else, and always been part of something I've been into. The Evil Dead it's a good franchise, man, and Bruce Campbell's awesome,
And
and
Sam Raimi, I'm a fan of everybody, dude. Evil Dead, Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, fans of them all.
yeah, it's cheesy enough and cool enough, and kind of weird, freaky enough, like absolutely weird, freaky enough. It's good, dude. It's his own thing, and I like that about it too. Like the Evil Dead, like nobody, that's not anything. That's his own
So you
thing.
got Evil Dead, then you go to Sam Raimi, Quick and the Dead. You can go to Bruce Campbell, like My Name is Bruce, some Bubba Hotep. A
Yeah,
lot going on here, dude.
I'm a hotep, dude.
But seriously, I'm very, very excited to do Army of Darkness, and we're very excited that you have chosen to spend this time with us. Thanks again for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. You can find our content wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff and on the web at dudeswatchstuff.com. Nice and easy to remember, just like the flaps, FLAPS. Follow, like, and please subscribe if you had fun. Remember to touch the thumb. I'm Magnum Mills with the Soupdeucer on behalf of Jamie G, who's out there somewhere, but he's going to be back for Thanksgiving, we promise. Thanks again for checking out the show. We're just dudes talking about the dudes, trying to be more dude-like.
The dude's abide.